Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Beatdown Bandits podcast. I am Colin, and hey, happy Thanksgiving, everybody! By the time this comes out, it'll be right after Thanksgiving, and so yeah, just happy Thanksgiving to you if you celebrate that type of thing. I mean, at least if you're in America, we have a Thanksgiving Day. I know October is there's a Thanksgiving for the my fellow Northern Canadian friends. Back in October is your Thanksgiving. I'm not sure about other countries. I have a lot of people that I talk to that are in other countries right now, and I'm not sure what they do for Thanksgiving. It's probably at different times of the year or whatever. I'm sure most countries have a day to actually celebrate, just kind of being thankful for friends and family and stuff like that. So I guess that's a question I have for you guys is, one, do you have a Thanksgiving, and what are you grateful for? I know it's not the most ideal of years, and it's a hard year to be thankful or grateful for things, but it's probably the best year to really be honest, and probably just a good year to try to be grateful and to stay positive. I think we all need that a little bit right now, right? So me myself, it's very cliche to say, but thankful that myself and my family we're healthy. We have jobs, we have a house, and I just got a new car, so I'm thankful for that. My kids are getting through school and doing very well in it. It's just kind of one of those times to just be grateful for kind of those small things and the essentials and the things that you would normally take for granted. Kind of a good year to really focus on those things and to be grateful for those small things that you have. So anyway, enough of that fluff stuff, right? So let's move on. This is a gaming podcast, so let's talk video games. And today I kind of want to discuss some more Apex stuff. Which, no, this is not turning into an exclusive Apex Legends podcast, so I do apologize that we're having some repeats, and we've had like 5 episodes now where we've discussed Apex. But it's just something I've played a lot, and I've really, really enjoyed. It's been my favorite game this year, by far. But we're also in a new season of Apex, so with Season 7 just kind of coming out in the last month. And but I've also noticed something here recently, which is the title of this podcast, is basically, how I got to become better at Apex. I have the birthday badge. I started in week 1. I think I started in like the 3rd day that it came out, 2nd or 3rd day. And so I've been playing since the very beginning, and I've had some bright spots and stuff like that, but I've definitely been on the struggle bus the last couple seasons. And so what changed, right? So yeah, I feel like I've gotten better, and when it comes down to it, I do try at Apex. I don't consider myself sweaty like at all. I still goof off and have a lot of fun with it, and do stupid things and whatever. And I don't take it like that serious, but I do try a little bit. I definitely don't go 100% or even 70% some days, but I do try, and I do want to be good at it. And but I often play with randoms, and which I don't have much luck with. I for some reason, skill-based matchmaking puts me in with like 2 people that are definitely worse than me, and I'm pretty bad still. I don't know why. I thought like I would be getting put with as a random with a lot of better people, but that doesn't seem to happen for me. So not a big deal. And then when I play with my friends, some of them are better than me. Some of the guys I've met off of like YouTube or Twitch or whatever, like some of them are very good, and skilled, and have been able to help me grow, and I've learned a lot from them. Just some of their advice and comments and stuff have been very helpful for me, for sure. But then like most of the friends that I normally would play with, I just play with it. I just play Apex Legends a lot more than they do, so pretty much like I'm better by default. I don't necessarily consider myself any more skilled than they are. I just play the game a lot, and I watch a lot of videos, and I watch a lot of streams, and so I understand the game better. I guess is the big thing. So kind of going back and looking through my stats of the seasons of Apex, I had one really good season, and that was Season 3. So I had a very high kill-death ratio. It was my highest by far. I won a lot of games. And I was just having a blast doing it. Kind of when it comes down to it. So what changed from like seasons 4 through 6? And I think it's just because they got more players. People got better. They were playing with more teams because there's more people. There's more teams now because people are just like playing with their friends. So when you're 2 stacking, 3 stacking in pubs, it becomes a lot harder, right? So I rarely play with squads or friends, stuff like that. 99% of the time, I'm with randoms, and that doesn't always help. But people got more aggressive, and that usually, like when I go up against aggressive people, it doesn't usually work well for me. So that's kind of what happened. Excuse me, I clear my throat. I didn't bring water with me, of course, so we're just gonna get through this without water. So going back, I used to play with Watson and Caustic a lot, and mostly because I kind of struggle with sounds and directional sounds quite a bit, and Apex already is pretty audio buggy for sure. So it's kind of like playing with no headset on. So, which I actually have done quite a bit. I actually probably have 10 to 15 wins without any sound whatsoever. You can really rely on those pings, and I find like it's less distracting for me if I sometimes don't have a headset. The only reason why I really actually would is like I want to hear other people and like my teammates or friends that I'm playing with or whatever. That's really the only reason why I have it. Most of the time, like I really struggle with any type of directional sound. So it just didn't work for me that way. And so with bad audio and stuff, anyway, I'm going down a weird rabbit hole. So Watson and Caustic basically kind of made me feel safer when it came to that stuff. So I play with them a lot. Plus, I mostly Watson. Caustic, not quite as much, but I played a lot of Watson. And I was able to I felt like a little bit more campy, and I had that kind of that second line of defense of being able to barricade and I know when somebody is coming if I can't hear them whatsoever. So that helped. But basically, I kind of felt like I was leaving my teammates kind of high and dry sometimes, where I would maybe either fall behind a little bit, which a lot of times didn't happen because I felt myself like still ended up kind of leading the way sometimes. But I would get in and kind of barricade things, and then they would find enemies, and I would not be directly with them. And so, like I said, I'd sometimes leave them a little bit high and dry because I was kind of in the back with randoms a lot and wasn't always super comfortable pushing with no audio or as Watson. So randoms just typically just want to kind of push and get damage and kills most of the time. Most of them aren't super campy, and they don't necessarily care that you're a Watson, and that doesn't quite fit your style. They don't care, and they don't know that. They don't like I said, they don't care. They just want to push, right? But it makes sense with a Watson, even in pubs. Like, oh, we want to get to the end ring. We want to play a little bit smarter to get to an end ring to really give ourselves the best chance possible. Randoms don't care about that in pubs. So just throwing that out there. If you like Watson, randoms really don't give a rat's behind that you're playing Watson, and it makes more sense for you to survive longer. Doesn't matter to them. So when your teammates get knocked as Watson, you try to fight a team 1v3. That's really hard as a Watson. I've tried a million times. I fail pretty much every single time. There's not many times where I win a 1v3 as Watson. I'll do it with others, not very much with Watson. Now, Caustic, you can. Caustic is probably one of the honestly better legends when it comes to winning a 1v3. Because he's hard to get up close to. You're going to take damage if you're going to come close to Caustic. So that's just, it's more intimidating for people than Watson is. So, but like I said, the fences and the gas just kind of gave me that extra line of defense, that warning system that I personally needed. So season 6, which I previously mentioned in another podcast, was a horrible season for me. Like, no ifs, ands, or buts about it. It was stale. I wasn't playing well. I wasn't having fun. I wasn't winning anywhere near as much or getting as many kills. And it was by far like the least amount of games I played in a season. Like just comparing like the games played per season, it was a pretty serious decrease, like a 15-20% decrease in games played. So yeah, so it just wasn't fun because I was also getting obliterated. So if you constantly get obliterated and you're not having fun, it's a rough go. And as I just had mentioned, like I wasn't getting blessed with, I thought, like great skill-based matchmaking. I thought typically, like if you're a really good player, and it's typically the really good players that complain about skill-based matchmaking because they get put with typically much worse players than them, because skill-based matchmaking says, oh, these people are going to be able to carry, like, oh, this guy's really good, he'll be able to carry two bad people to a win maybe. That was my understanding. I know we don't have a great grasp on how Respawn does their skill-based matchmaking. They haven't really disclosed all that information. But our understanding is apparently completely off because I'm not good. I don't have great, stats. And I thought it was like, based around like your win percentage versus your KD versus your shots hit, things like that, or like what your like shot percentage is. And I feel like my stuff is just not great, but I still 90% of the time I get placed with people who are lower levels or lower ranks or whatever than myself. I very rarely would get carried to a victory. Like it happens, but 9 times out of 10, if I'm winning with randoms, I am the one usually doing the carrying. Now, if I play with other people, then that's totally different. But if I'm two randoms, it's pretty rare for me to win and not be the person that did most of the kills and damage. Like I said, not every time. Sometimes I get carried, but it's a very low percentage of the times. And like I said, I can't carry very good. So most of my wins that I get would still look like I'm being carried because I can't always carry to a win. Okay. I hope that makes sense. I feel like maybe I was rambling. Yeah. So frankly, I just kind of got sick of it. So I kind of gave up on season 6 and felt like I kind of needed like some type of like attitude change or something. A positivity change, and basically kind of steal from Watson's lines, like some type of like spark to ignite like my ass from whining about losing so much, maybe something like that, right? So season 7 hits, we got a new map and something to kind of reinvigorate, which I really needed in season 6. New map, I really love. It's fun, it's different, it's dramatically different, and I think that's helped me a lot. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to give up playing Watson. I'll play Caustic every once in a while. I'll sprinkle him in. But I pretty much gave up Watson completely. It took me a couple weeks to try out Watson again in season 7. And I still played well with her. But anyway, I basically switched to Octane. I switched to Mirage. I switched to Bloodhound. Basically, I wanted to kind of play as Bangalore. Started playing as people who maybe were fun, could offer maybe a little bit more as a solo player, such as myself. Not necessarily always helping the team, like Octane and Mirage sometimes don't necessarily like a big team players, but if I'm playing pubs and randoms, those guys honestly offer more than what a Watson could anyway, right? So those help me just do a few more things, right? So most important thing that changed for me, as I look at my notes here, I want to make sure I hit all these points. Most importantly, what changed everything for me was basically I decided that instead of acting like somebody who needed to be a little bit more passive aggressive, I was just going to be a little bit more aggressive and not quite be as passive, just push some things even though I know I'm going to lose, right? And like act like I'm the predator in the lobby, which I'll talk a little bit more about in a minute. So I'm going to push the fights. I'm going to be the one to third party as much as possible. I'm going to stop looting, basically. And like that was something also, like I always hated playing with Octanes because they were loose cannons. They had a bad name, right? And they kind of go off and do their own things, and I hated it. So if I'm playing with like my friend Matt and we're playing as whoever, and then our random, which it seems like 9 times out of 10 would pick Octane, we just laugh. It's like, oh, here we go, another Octane that's gonna launch off the map. They're gonna go hot zone and die in 4 seconds, whatever. I'm like, you know what? Look, if I play as Octane, I could take some of that craziness out of it. I could be myself. I would obviously, not have that unpredictable factor in there. And that helped me, to be honest. But again, I just stopped looting as well. So I can't say that enough. That helped me so much, was to stop looting. Again, I will say it again to everybody, and those of you in the back that maybe are barely listening, in Apex, stop looting. Okay, it works really well. I know some people hear that, I was like, oh, okay, I'll stop looting as much. No, like legit, like just stop looting. Like literally thousands of times. Okay, this is literal thousands of times, because I've played thousands and thousands of games. I have looted and looted and looted all game long. 18 minutes long. I haven't seen an enemy, and then I come across the first team and I'm goated. You know, I've got everything I could possibly need, and I instantly die because I haven't been getting in fights, and I don't have that like adrenaline pumping. I'm not kind of loosened up from a fight, right? So I'm basically becoming a loot delivery service for the better teams, and it's annoying. I don't care about, oh, we got in third place. Like, I mean, what does that matter in pubs? It doesn't do anything. There's no stat for congrats, third place in a game that doesn't really matter. It's all about those kills, right? You get those kills and damage. So again, just stop looting. I don't want to get obliterated after 18 minutes and have 12 damage, right? Like that's so frustrating. It's just a waste of my time, right? So there's just no point in being that loot delivery service for another team. I don't like it. So I always tell people, and what I mostly myself, when I say I tell people, I tell myself, is loot the essentials, right? Grab a small amount of ammo. You grab, when you land, you grab 2 guns, and you grab armor, and maybe some shield cells if you happen to see them. But you should be fighting that team within 10 seconds of you landing. Like, just grab whatever and go kill that team that's there, and grab their stuff. Right? So always those essentials. You only need to grab, like, from death boxes, like just enough essentials and ammo to win your next gunfight, and then steal from them enough ammo to win the next gunfight. That's worked so well for me, right? So when I play as Octane, like, that's something else that I've like enjoyed with Octane, with his buff, with like the health buff this year, or this season rather, is I usually only carry like 4 syringes with me, or maybe I'll have like 1 med kit or like 2 med kits and 4 syringes, but about half as much as what I would normally like. Normally I would carry like 2 or 4 med kits, and sometimes like 8 syringes or 4 syringes, but you can have half, basically, is what I'm trying to say, is Octane. So however much you carry with somebody else, you only need half is what you do for Octane. And you can kind of save that to be like a loot delivery service for your team. Is like, you can carry some extra grenades, right? Some extra throwables, some extra thermites. You can carry a couple extra bats or whatever. Like, that's a little bit more useful for Octane, a little bit more useful for your team. So while Octane doesn't offer, like, with his abilities, much for his team, the fact that he can have a little bit extra space in his inventory for extra things is also very useful. That's something else to kind of consider with Octane that I've actually really liked. But you don't have to have those med kits, like I said. I can dump those to my teammates if I see, oh, why am I carrying 4 med kits as Octane? I can dump them super quick, or just dump them all. Frankly, I'll just use 4 syringes. That's all I need, right? I stopped worrying about barrel stabilizers. Like, I don't care if I stumble across it, if I stumble across a new stock, better optic, whatever, great. If not, I find that it's not going to win me that many games or cost me that many games to go from a blue stock to a purple stock, right? Or a white barrel stabilizer to a blue barrel stabilizer. That's not going to be the difference of me winning the game. It's, do I have enough ammo and do I have enough heals to win the next fight? It's not the barrel stabilizers. So forgetting the attachments and saying, oh, I need better attachments. No, you really don't. You need to go win the next gunfight. If they have a better one, great, grab it. If not, you don't need it, right? Like, I find that's not going to help me out. And when it comes down to those fights, it's basically who's going to make that first move, right? Who's going to get snuck up on. Like, if you're stuck looting, that team's going to push you. They're going to find you separated because you're going slow looting. Your other teammates are gone. That's what's costing, right? Who's going to be that most aggressive team? Who's going to play like they have nothing to lose, right? So somebody told me once, when it came to looting, I want to try to quote this as best I can. When it came to looting, is when you land, grab 2 guns and armor, fight the other team you landed with, grab shields and meds, move on. Don't worry about attachments ever. You can get those from a corpse. I liked it. And then loot boxes, not buildings, right? So the only time you should be looting a building is when you land. That first point of interest that you land, or wherever you happen to land, loot right there. By the time you get into your first fight, you should really stop looting. The only loot you should find is from death boxes of people you killed, right? Nothing else, don't worry about it, okay? I also made it a habit, and this is something that I've done that's got my KD back above 1.0, is I stopped opening supply bins after round 1. Okay, I talked about this back in like season 5. Was something that I tried to do, was after like when round 1 was over, I no longer looted anything. Okay, so now I'm trying to make sure like I'm not opening supply bins after round 1. There's nothing I'm going to find in a supply bin that I can't find in a death box, right? So stop slowing down, because you're slowing down your teammates, and it's all about movement in this game, right? So all the loot I need is from those people I kill. Limit your looting to death boxes to about 5 seconds. So I kind of have this internal timer. When I get into something, I'm out of it in 5 seconds or less. If I'm in there and there's other stuff I need, I'm out of it anyway. Like, oh, there was a gold barrel stabilizer and I only have blue. It doesn't matter. I'm moving on. Like I got to move. And like I just kind of hinted at, like the really amazing thing that I feel like that kind of separates Apex Legends from like the other battle royales is the movement. I feel like it's like light years above some of the others. Like it's just not as smooth. It just doesn't feel as clunky. It just feels like so free flowing in Apex. So take advantage of it. If you're stopping in every building to loot and loot and loot, and you're stopped like staring at the ground looking at things, then PUBG is a good game for you, right? PUBG, I feel, is like a lot more about the loot rather than moving and getting kills. Like I feel like when people like learn how to move and run and rotate, Apex becomes so much better, and it's so much better at a higher rate of speed. So Apex isn't about the loot, it's about the movement. And getting that into my head and always moving and running, and like I'm not going to stay here. I'm just going to try to listen and find the gun sounds if I can and go that way. Or where did I see people land? Like that's something else I've done, is looking backwards in drop ships. And thank you to some of my friends who's mentioned that to me as well, is looking backwards in drop ships. You can see where other people are going and where battles might be happening. So if you land and don't even land with somebody, but hey, 3 teams landed over at this next POI, I'm going to go push that. Right, so it's really, really helpful. And with looting, so something that I've actually noticed going back a season or 2 is like, if I am just like, okay, I'm just going all out on this game and I'm just gonna go as fast as I possibly can. I've noticed like the games where like I tend to like pop off and like, man, that was like a really fun game, like a fun win. Like I've had tons of like wins where it was like, yeah, whatever. But then I'll have like a win where it was like, man, that was amazing. Like it was just a lot of fun. It's typically like, if I look at my inventory, I'm running on bare bones. Like you call it like running on poor or running on empty. It's like you have basically, 20 extra rounds left. You have maybe 2 or 3 shields left. You have no throwables, and half of your inventory is just empty. Like you have all these slots open. Like those are some really fun games. I jumping back is like, I really just like looting and looting and looting, filling up my inventory and trying to sort my inventory because it's so full, and then instantly dying. It's really wearing, because like I don't want to survive 18 minutes and have 0 kills. So that's big for me. When I notice I have slots empty but I'm running, I feel really good about myself. So running on poor is a great way to play. So I would suggest it. So that's kind of step 1 was fixing my looting, right? Step 2 was fixing my attitude, which I mentioned. My buddy DJ told me like I should play every time like I am a top Apex predator. If you go into matches with like that attitude, then it helps. I mean, you don't see Preds hiding in corners or whatever, or camping so much. You see them pushing enemies that are doing that. So that's helped. Step three is learning to play with my teammates a little better. I'm not to the point of kind of being a solo god and just not straight up needing any of those teammates, but kind of leading my teammates a little bit better. Like especially if I'm playing to somebody somewhat fast, Bloodhounds and Octanes and Bangalores or whatever. If I'm playing a little bit faster and I can lead those teams, then it makes things easier. The second somebody falls behind, it gets harder. So learning how to handhold with teammates, even if it's randoms, especially late in the game, it helps. I'll go back and watch my games with like my friends, and I'll notice that we lost that game because one person gets separated, kind of doing their own thing. They're looking for, whatever type of loot from a death box they see, and it's like, oh, there's a team right here. It's like, well, now you're going to die, and we're going to have to fight these battles 2-on-3. So that's big. It's always knowing where your teammates are, paying attention to the mini map, watching them, kind of staying with your team. Especially late game, you don't need to loot. I don't know how many times I can say it, right? You don't need to loot. So use what you have, and you'll be just fine. But yeah, and then that person, that's the other thing, is like that person then that has gone off has to fight a 1v3. And they're just not going to win that most of the time, right? So it just doesn't make sense to go away from your teammates. Like, I understand people want to break off at the beginning, and as they should, take a building away to loot at the very beginning, but then come together, share the loot, share the death boxes, and dump ammo. If somebody pings, I need ammo. If you have extra, dump it. Like, help your teammates. Helping your teammates makes you better, right? All right, where am I? I already talked about that. Oh yeah, and that was a whole nother thing is I know like some people, like they get stuck with like the guns that they have. Like, oh, I really like these guns, or these are the guns that I have. They don't necessarily think about always like switching guns. So that's something else, is like, even like late, it's like, hey, I'm running out of heavy. I can't find heavy anywhere, but this death box has the 301 and 300 rounds of light with it. Just drop that flatline or drop that Hemi, grab the 301, grab this, and just switch guns mid-game or late game. It doesn't matter what gun, as long as you have a gun and ammo. But so many are like, oh, I have these two guns, and those guns I'm stuck with. I've switched. I've used 7 guns in a game before. Like, if you got to do that, do that. Switch those guns, right? Swap and move on. It's the ammo and the heals, like I said, that make the difference. It's not about a slightly better extended mag or a better stock. Just forget looting that stuff, right? Have the guns and have the ammo. That's all that really matters. Forget the optics, right? Ammo, heals, 5 seconds to loot, golden. All right. After kind of realizing that in pubs or duos, and like where a top 5 doesn't necessarily mean anything, the high kills and the damage and the wins, those actually count for stuff, right? So everything else counts as a loss. Right? If you're not winning, you're losing. When it comes to Apex, it's all about the win, right? Now, ranked can be different. A top 5 is very important in ranked. So that might be a slight exception, especially when you get anything like gold or higher, where you instantly lose and dying on drop. Like that's painful and that hurts. That takes time to kind of recuperate. So I get that. So you can kind of end up just kind of second guessing, grabbing banners or pushing a fight, which makes sense. But in a casual game or like really low ranked or whatever, there's no point whatsoever with hiding. It doesn't make sense. I had a game recently where I had to win a 1v3, and I did. Fortunately, I did win that. But notice the person that I was playing with was hiding in a corner while the fight was going. We had one teammate get knocked, and I was able to knock one, and at that point it should be like a 2v2, right? And so I had we had it. It's like, okay, well, it's 2v3. I knocked one, now it's 2v2. But then my teammate says, oh, I'm camping in the corner. It's like that's not helping. So I get another knock, and then he gets knocked, and then so I end up getting that. Why I ended up killing everybody, and I know that's just kind of a rambled story, but the point is it doesn't help. Just always help your teammates. Hiding in the corner, he eventually got spotted anyway and got knocked. Fortunately, I was able to kind of clean that up and kind of clutch that, but it could have been a 2v3 is easier to win than a 1v3, or a 2v2 is easier than a 1v2, right? So you understand what I'm saying. It's always, you want to have as many guns focused on one person as possible. right? So in a pubs match, if we lose, we lose when it comes down to it. If we're 20th, if we're 8th, we're 2nd, it's all the same, right? It's either first or last when it comes down to that. You know, the win matters and the damage and the kills matter. You know, if we're 2nd place and we have 0 kills and 0 damage, you're not going to remember it, right? So you got to get that win, or you know, go down swinging, right? So camping and ratting your way in a top 5 in pubs it just doesn't make sense to me anymore. So I stopped doing it. And so learning to go down in that blaze of glory, if necessary, is definitely better than losing your teammates and trying to sneak your way to a 4th place finish. So kind of last big difference that I've noticed from myself was an attitude change. Not pretending I'm an apex predator, like I mentioned, but just trying to stay positive with stuff. And I've noticed that when I'm kind of playing with my friends here recently, I've tried to be like the positive thing of like, you know, if I go out and I have, you know, 6-7 kills and 1,800 damage, but they have no kills and like 100 damage combined, you know, I'm very positive about that. It's like, look, you know, we did good, we communicated. You got to find those positive things in everything, and I think that's really helped. You know, if I get down on myself on how I'm playing, or I get frustrated because we didn't win or whatever, then it's a quicksand effect. And I still need to do better with that. But it just, things get worse and worse and worse. You know, when you play bad and you get frustrated with yourself, you got to find the things that are good, you know, and instead of finding the things that are toxic to you. So find that, you know, if my randoms that I'm playing with are being toxic, I don't have a problem with muting them or just straight up leaving the game. Like, I've done it before, you know, and it's like, you know, I'll even come off, you know, most of the time, like, I'm muted. I'm not going to talk to my randoms 90% of the time, you know, but you know, I can think of a really good example fairly recently where a random was being obnoxious, and then the one that I had basically got both of their banners because they both did something stupid while I'm in the middle of another fight. They got down from other enemies because we landed with like 4 teams, and then they get mad at me because I wasn't right with them. It's like, well, I'm fighting off other people. I was able to get their banners and go res them. Well, they're sitting there talking trash all this time and basically just having a peeing contest. And so I rezzed and left. And it's like, I'm not going to deal with you toxic people. And was polite enough to res them, but left the game. Like, there's just no point in me getting frustrated with 2 morons, basically, is a good way to look at it. So it doesn't hurt me to leave a game and let them be outnumbered and see how they do, you know, 2v3. Not that I'll never know, because I don't care, right? So that's it, guys. Like I said, is you know, the big steps for me to fix how I played Apex this season was I fixed my looting. I played with a better positive attitude and a more aggressive attitude, and you know, really that's kind of the big things, and just playing better with my teammates, trying to handhold just a little bit better and not get myself so separated. That fixed so much stuff for me, and even helping my teammates try to stay a little closer. I've noticed that a lot here recently. I have one friend that doesn't watch the map very good, and so I have to try to pull him in and try to, you know, get him a little bit closer. And you know, it's cost some games, but again, we just really play pubs, so it doesn't really matter that much to me, and I stay positive with it. It's like this is what we could have done to fix it. You know, let's stay closer. But again, like those are the things that have helped me this season. So I'll leave it at that. Again, thank you for listening and watching. Be sure, you know, if you're on YouTube, like, comment, subscribe. Let me know about your Thanksgiving, if you guys celebrate that or not. Whatever country you're in, that would be awesome to kind of hear, because I don't really know. And let me know how your season 7 is going in Apex, because I've heard, you know, most people, I feel like, are very positive with the season, and they've been very grateful for basically how things have changed a little bit. I think most people were having a difficult go in season 6 where things were stale. So I think we're all much happier now. So again, thank you all for watching, and take care. Later.